Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and our chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are in the Johnson edition, and we turn now to poem 711, Strong Draughts of Their Refreshing Minds. To drink, of course, is the opening two words of the second line. Now, in many ways, we are back to poem 593. I'm hopeful that you will remember this study already. This is another poem that will join Emily to the great tradition of Francis Bacon and of studies, and the idea that reading is fundamental. Can we even say propedeutic? Sure, why not? That is to say, there's something powerful about meeting a great writer. In the case of 593, as we've already commented, of course, the great Elizabeth Barrett Browning. I think I was enchanted when first, a somber girl, I read that foreign lady, the dark, felt beautiful. And whether it was noon at night or only heaven at noon, for very lunacy of light I had not power to tell. The bees became as butterflies, the butterflies as swans, approached and spurned the narrow grass, and just the meanest tunes that nature murmured to herself to keep herself in cheer, I took for giants practicing Titanic opera. The days to mighty meters stepped, the homeliness adored, as if unto a jubilee 'twere suddenly confirmed. I could not have defined the change. Conversion of the mind. Now again, that line, conversion of the mind, I want you to hold on to it. Light sanctifying in the soul is witnessed, not explained. 'Tis a divine insanity, as we commented when we did this poem. What an amazing line. You're gonna hold on to that line. Divine, when you meet a great book, a great idea, it's like divine insanity. The danger to be sane should I again experience. 'Tis anecdote to turn to tunes of solid witchcraft. Magicians be asleep, but magic hath an element like deity to keep. Now, our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net. Down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily is our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've worked through our set of introductory comments where we commented on Emily and her education and the power of her reading. So important. I mean, she's fundamentally, in many ways, self-taught through her reading. And of course, we would love to know, and why we call our series Chats with Emily, what was it that you read that was so influential? Here we're going to hear all about great reading that she has done, but she rarely just even gestured towards what that reading was. I'm also hopeful that you've worked through the preceding 710 poems that we've already studied. We just finished with 710, the sunrise runs for both. And if you are able to do that, then that reading, then you're able to capture the echoes that Emily loves to celebrate, as we just heard, loves to celebrate the reading that challenged her. Now, we do know this. After the death of Emerson, she wrote a poem that we will come back to. One of the most important for us, 1587. We'll get there at the end of the lecture. She said this in a comment about Emerson. Ralph Waldo Emerson, whose name my father's law student taught me, has touched the secret spring. Now, I think that's a significant quote, because this idea of the secret spring and the idea of what we drink as imbibing that allows us, what is it that Bacon says in Of Studies? Reading maketh a full man. You'll remember this idea that there are some books to be just kind of tasted and some few, you'll remember he says, to be digested. We've given a full lecture on that classic essay at learnstrong.net. The question of this poem is, what is the value of a great text? Now, those of us who are working now through 700 plus of Emily's poems, on our way to 1,775 of the poems contained in the Johnson edition, we inevitably find ourselves asking the simple question, why? Why are we giving so much time and energy to a single poet into all of her poems? And one of the answers is, well, camels need water if they're going to go through a desert. She says it this way: strong draughts of their refreshing minds to drink enables mine through desert or the wilderness, as bore it sealed wine, to go elastic, or as one the camel's trait attained. How powerful the stimulus of an hermetic mind. Now, of course, the key word of the poem is powerful, and of course the idea of stimulus. She'll begin with the idea of drinking, and strong drink, which again will take us any number of places. You'll remember when we did 214, right? And she says, I taste a liquor never brewed from tankers scooped in pearl, not all the vats upon the Rhine yield such an alcohol? Inebriate of air am I, and debauché of dew, reeling through endless summer days from inns of molten blue. When landlords turn the drunken bee out of the foxglove's door, when butterflies renounce their drams, I shall but drink the more, till seraphs swing their snowy hats and saints to windows run to see the little tippler leaning against the sun. Now, this idea of drinking, we will come back to it. Maybe one of the most important poems that Emily has written for us as students. And we love this, don't we? 1587. He ate and drank the precious words, his spirit grew robust. He knew no more that he was poor, nor that his frame was dust. He danced along the dingy days, and this bequest of wings was but a book. What liberty a loosened spirit brings. We'll get loosened here. In this poem, it will be elastic. Notice what she says. Strong draughts of their refreshing minds. Now, of course, again, who are these refreshing minds? You'll remember minds used in 69 of her poems. The great writers, the great authors. To drink enables mind. Notice the syntax variant. To make you go, what? Oh, she's saying, when I drink these strong draughts of refreshing minds, that enables me through desert or the wilderness. We're back to our Dante. Again, this idea. How do you get, what does Dante say? We don't go to hell. We go through hell, right? We've given full lectures on, of course, all of those major epics. The Iliad, the Odyssey. Think about the power of the journey motif of the Odyssey. And, of course, the Aeneid, Virgil's Aeneid. We've given full lectures on all of them, but as well, Dante's Divine Commedia. And again, all of this is at LearnStrong for you. The strong draughts of their refreshing minds to drink enables mind through desert or the wilderness, as bore it sealed wine, and of course this use of wine with liquor from 214, to go elastic. She only uses that phrase one time in all her poetry, and it's here. In other words, it expands me in some way, and this makes us think, of course, of what it is that Piaget and Vygotsky said about what great learning is. We're within that zone of proximal development. What is it that great poets do, and great writers and great thinkers? It moves us right to the edge of our zone of proximal development. It moves us even a little bit beyond, and we're elastic, we're stretched. If there's anything our study is doing, I hope for you, it is stretching us, stretching you, challenging you. She says to be elastic. Notice it's to go elastic. Or, she likes this word picture, as one the camel's trait attain. Now, she only mentions camel one time in all of her poetry, and it's right here. In other words, a great text is like the water to a camel that allows it to survive the long distances over the desert or the wilderness. Now, of course, we know today, what maybe Emily didn't, that no, that hump of the camel is not, in fact, where water is stored. It's actually stored in its bloodstream. However, we know that camels can imbibe tremendous amounts of water quickly and then hold on to that water for long periods of time through the process, of course, of walking those distances, the camel's trait, and then that allows the attainment of the journey. How powerful the stimulus, notice capitalized, of a hermetic mind. When we get to poem 895, it's our only other time to work with this hermetic. It will be the hermetic memory. Now, of course, back earlier it was sealed when she used the word sealed wine. Here it's the hermetic mind. Again, the brilliance of this, to just play the game with Emily of sealed wine, hermetic mind. It is brilliant, the games that she's playing with us. I think Emily's having lots of fun as she says, what a 2A. Well, the best way to survive the desert is to have the water. That's the only way you're going to make it through. In other words, this kind of work that we are doing, this reading that we are doing, this borrowing from this amazing mind, allows us to be elastic, allows us to have enough water to survive the experience of our life through the desert, through the wilderness, if you will. At 2B, well, I love the word pictures here, and obviously the games that she's playing with the language as well. at 3a. Well, I mentioned Francis Bacon's of Studies, and I think we want to go back to it again and be reminded, reading maketh a full man, right? He'll say, that notion that if you really want to be well-rounded, learn how to read. Obviously, Mortimer Adler's How to Read a Book has always been a sacred text in Room 303. If for no other reason than the challenge is to think about our reading, and the reading at multiple levels, as we've often commented on. Finally, at 3b, well, who brings you the greatest amount of water to help you through the desert or the wilderness? And is it altogether possible that for you, maybe Emily Dickinson is one of those great bringers of the wine? Thank you.